Hello, you guys. Hi, 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 hi. Oh, I hope that didn't break anybody's eardrums. I am
Oh,
so excited. What? Tell
I
me.
forgot to ask, can you hear me on my mic? Is it
I
working?
can hear
I don't
you.
have I feel
We
like,
can
look at
hear
you with your
you.
fluffy mic. I'm like, Mela's got a mic.
You
Can you
guys,
hear me?
you guys, I'm so excited.
Wow.
Welcome to I Am Fun Size Live for the first time on YouTube. It's our very first YouTube live stream. I'm super excited. Um, I am also super newbie to this, and I don't know if you guys remember from all of the other things, but Auntie is not great at technology, you know.
Neither is
So
the other auntie.
but you are the hot auntie. So we're gonna have a conversation about that because you are so talented at so many things, but then your face shows up and you're glowing and you're so beautiful that I'm like, you could just sit there and do nothing and the world would be just fine looking at your
You
face.
are hired. Let me go get a 20, sweetheart. I'm going to give it to you in just a minute.
Everyone, if you do not know who our beautiful guest is today, this is the incomparable, beautiful, talented, big-hearted Mela Lee, one of my favorite finds and new family members of the last year. And literally one of the first texts I think I sent you, Mela, was when you posted a picture of yourself on Instagram, and I was like, girl, you got to teach me how to do makeup like you do because you are
Oh,
on point. And that was, I seriously think that was the first, and you were, then it became this just mutual
yeah, but
admiration.
words are so powerful because when a woman, that you look up to and you admire, like texts you that, it just like what she thinks I'm cute, I love us helping each other out, but it really helps sometimes to see yourself through other people's eyes.
Amen to that. And it's one of the many reasons I'm so excited to have you on this particular show and this particular stream because for those of you who are coming to I Am Fun Size for the first time, and for Mela, who we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to share this. I Am Fun Size for me came about from a desire to give back to this incredible community that we have online of artists and givers and makers and carers and lovers and sharers and all of this, but also because I think that be quiet, phone. I don't need you now. Also because I think a lot of us, no matter how big or brassy or happy or wonderful we look on the outside, sometimes we feel small or we are struggling or we're
Mm.
having dark times. And I want so badly for people to have all the resources they could possibly have to lead what I consider a fun size life, which is not small, even though fun size candy is small. And theoretically, I am fun size as well. But I feel like we're all built for fun. We're all built for a big, fun, beautiful life. And part
I
of that,
love that concept of fun size, and like I'm everywhere from an 8 to a size 12, and I feel like I'm fun size and I'm
you
learning to
are
embrace that.
100% fun size because you live your life in such a big, gracious, open, and yet vulnerable and authentic way.
I'm like, go on.
But that's what this is. But that's again, that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on this show because you are someone who understands the concept of strength in vulnerability. And I
Hmm.
think that that is something that is not always celebrated, particularly among people who are in the public eye.
Mm.
I think sometimes people think that they have to put on this air of perfection, whatever that freaking is to anyone. And in reality, whether you are someone who is in the public eye on screen, in voiceovers in games, in song like you are with your beautiful songbird voice, whether you are in the public eye or not, you are still a human being going through the same struggles of humanity. And
Very
sometimes
much
it's
so.
even more magnified by the fact that you're in the public eye because so many of us feel that we can't share that humanity and share that
Mm.
vulnerability. But you are someone who does do that on a regular basis. Your Instagram posts, you guys, you have to follow Mela on all of the places.
Oh, thank
The
you.
Mela Lee, super easy to remember, TheMelaLee, because she is the Mela Lee. But if your posts are so inspirational and heartfelt and warm, and they're like sinking into a hug, even when you're talking about your vulnerabilities. So that's some of the reason why I wanted to have you here on this show. Because I think that all of us have something to learn from you.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
Let's dive in real quick.
Okay.
This is usually the question that I ask people on I Am Fun Size when we do a pre-recorded segment, a really short,
Okay.
whatever. And I'd super be interested. Oh, hang on, I'm going to grab this hot water. Pause for talent, guys.
Okay.
I'll be right there. Oh, I'm going to be singing in the background as I make this hot water.
Oh, I love that.
Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo. I don't know why I said Scooby-Doo because neither one of us are on Scooby-Doo yet.
No, but did you hear I think they're gonna make a new one.
I
That's
have
so cool.
heard. I don't know how much is I've heard rumblings of
Me
exciting.
too. And I just saw Scooby Natural. If you haven't seen the Supernatural episode where it's called Scooby Natural. And it is, I can't remember what my friend just we were doing like a watch party, but Scooby Natural, look it up. It's amazing. It's a supernatural episode that's basically they get sucked into a Scooby episode.
Oh my God, that's so good.
It is so good.
There's so much good television to catch up on. I don't even know where to begin.
Boy, I wish we had more time to do that, huh? Oh, but wait.
But wait, unfortunately, we don't because you and I are. Well, first of all, pause.
Okay, sorry, pause.
Pause. I'm going to go back to this question.
You were singing and you had tea and you distracted me, and I have ADD.
Oh, I do that. We both of us are so easily distractible. This is why we do so many things. The question that I ask to all of my guests, and we usually pre-record these segments, is what is a piece of advice or information you would give to your younger self, knowing what you know now? And your younger self could be your child self, your teenage self, yourself 2 hours ago, but yourself, like I assume 2 hours ago, unless something magical happened in the last 2 hours. I don't know how much you learned, but who knows? But what would be something that you wish you had known, but that you would love to share with that younger self?
Mela, and anyone watching this, you are beautifully, wonderfully, exquisitely made. You are made of unicorn tears and the laughter of angels, and just the fact that you're here is a miracle. This time is yours, this day is yours, these dreams are yours. And I wish when I was younger, I had been there for myself. I would let other people's words, and most of them are wrong, but I'd let their words define who I was. You know, we're in a really beautiful time right now where we get to celebrate our diverse backgrounds. But as someone of a multicultural background, I kind of had it from both sides that I wasn't enough of something. And so, baby Mela, and everyone watching, you are beautifully, wonderfully, exquisitely made. You are worth celebrating every day like it's a holiday. And I love you.
Oh, you can't start me crying at the beginning of this episode. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later, but you can't start me there. I mean, you can, and you did, and you do. Wow. So much to unpack there in a beautiful
way. It's been a tender morning for me too.
And I love that you celebrate that. You lean into that. You lean into that in a beautiful way, and you do exactly what I do. It's like,
and so like, onions. Sorry.
Sorry, guys. I was cutting onions.
Onions.
I'd love to dive into one part of what you were just talking about, because it's a unique challenge that you have had, but at the same time, I think it is something that other people have shared, which is that the sense of, with your ethnic background and your heritage, of people saying to you or giving you the message that you were somehow not enough of one or the other. That
Yeah.
that's something that started when you were a child, and if you want to share with the gang here your incredible heritage, because you guys, it's something else.
Oh, I'm Polynesian, Creole, Ethiopian, Welsh. And I remember feeling beautiful, but I do remember looking for people in the media or in stories that looked like me. And I mean, there was Mariah Carey, we'll admit it.
Yeah,
But
let's take a moment. Let's have a moment of silence, looking at Mela and imagining Mariah Carey and realizing that the two of them have probably never been in the same place at the same time. So I don't entirely trust that they're not the same person, except that maybe personalities are slightly different. But look at her; they look like sisters. There it is. That was our moment. Sorry.
and yeah, I just, I got lots of positive reinforcement, but I think up until, being a grown up and knowing better, you can have 1,000 nice things said,
Mm.
but the one, tear down thing, like you're not, there was, I've, experienced racism, and it's so far from my experience right now because of the world I live in and the entertainment industry. And it's very, very welcoming. But what's interesting is to find that as I felt like I could open up about, you know, I feel very privileged, and I have a wonderful education and a wonderful job. So I felt like I didn't really have much to say. How do I fit into the diversity conversation? And as I was open enough to talk about feeling, because sometimes people are like, well, if your hair's curly, you can claim it. But when you straighten your hair, you look more Polynesian, so you should claim that. As if that's how DNA works. Like you get a blowout and you're somebody different. It's so you kind of felt torn. But I find as I speak about that more, and Apex Legends has been, really wonderful about bringing it up, like to see a legend that looks like my Nana or me, and she has like light eyes and freckles, but darker skin. And I found that there were so many other people worldwide, not only like me, ethnically back up, but I've had, friends that are Japanese American, 100% Japanese heritage, but because they're from America, they're less Japanese or less Korean, or as we spoke, you're not quite Indian enough, or, but that's such a weird conversation. But all of a sudden it became a universal conversation about identity. And the thing about truth is it's immutable. Like truth is. So if it can change, probably not true. But what is true is that we are human beings. And the beautiful thing about COVID, or a worldwide event, I hope the next one's worldwide joy, not just worldwide, but we all experience this as human beings. Mm-hmm. And for as long as you and I live, we will always have something in common with every human being on this planet. And we always did, but now we're really aware of it. And it will be interesting to see how we evolve in our communications and our acceptance and our curiosity about other cultures when we understand that it's really another side of ourselves. Mm. Mm-hmm. So I think before we were like, oh, I want to learn about different cultures because it was like something completely outside of yourself. But as human beings, we need to learn about different cultures and religions and geographies and countries because it's like our cousins. Yeah. And I can see that unfolding in the last year. And it's been an exquisite after effect or side effect of something that's been very difficult for, I know, everybody. The connection. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for the first time in my life, it's funny, before COVID, I was like, I'm just going to wear my hair curly because there's this kind of thing like, and in my brain, it was so difficult and, God bless my mother, but, being a white woman, she was just worried about how difficult my hair was. So I kind of took that one word and I decided I had very difficult hair. And when I just started wearing curly for COVID, because I'm not going anywhere, it's not difficult. I just put it in ponytails and it's so easy to take care of. I'm going to get it blown out next week. We were talking about that earlier. And like right now it's this long curly. Mm-hmm. So like straight, it'll probably be like this long, like to my waist.
It's exciting to see, but it's so chameleon-like.
It's magic. And I now see it through 7-year-old Mela's eyes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's it going to be? And but it's interesting how we'll take one word and take that on ourselves.
Well,
Everyone can say you're beautiful, but one person can be like, oh, you know, your body or your nose or your hair. And we'll take that 1%
mhm,
and somehow make that the truth.
mhm.
Isn't that funny?
It is.
So, you know,
I
I don't know if
feel,
you've experienced that,
oh
Anjali.
my God, are you kidding me? It's, I mean, it's most evident for me in terms of, in this business, in terms of feedback and that has been about things that are completely beyond my control, but they are still opinions. The same as
Mm,
your mother's opinion was that your hair was difficult. That was not a fact. That was her opinion. Might have been difficult for her, but not for anyone else.
right.
But with casting, I mean, and casting and relationships, past relationships, that I have taken certain bits of criticism or assessment as fact when they are
Mm,
opinion, and at the best they're an assessment, and at
right.
the worst they're just a hurtful opinion.
Well, and
And
people are allowed to have opinions and they're allowed to be wrong.
yes, exactly. And also, I don't need to, you know, theoretically, we don't need to take that opinion in, but for some
Mm,
reason, and I do think, God, I can't remember where I read this, but I was reading about this in some like spiritual book. I can't remember where it was, and I'm kicking myself that I don't. But it talks about how we do that because is a that is a potential danger for us, because historically,
mm,
back in ye olde timey, when there was a danger of somehow being ejected from the tribe or the family or whatever small
mm.
group of humans keeping you
Oh,
alive, if there was something that could potentially get you rejected by the group, it was a life or death danger. And so we
wow.
clock those things as, and for some of us now, you know, based on our experiences as a young child or experiences of trauma or whatever, it's been firmly lodged in our amygdala as like, that is as dangerous as a lion chasing after me.
Mm.
Whether it is whether it is about rejection, whether it's about abandonment, whether it's about terror, whatever it is, it gets kind of planted. I look at me, I'm like pointing at my
Yeah, well, no, I mean, that's a powerful statement.
planted in there. And so it's, on one hand, I used to think, God, what's wrong with me what's wrong with me that I do that?
Mm.
And now I'm like, oh no, no, good job, beautiful brain. You're trying to keep me alive. You're just afraid of the wrong thing. We don't
Because
have to
that's
be afraid
evolution, isn't it? And my gosh, anyone watching this, if you don't think Anjali is exquisite, like she freaking glows in person. Like she's lovely on camera, but I'm just here to tell you, as someone who has hiked in the Hollywood Hills with this gorgeous
of
creature, it's like magic. I
yeah.
grew up to hang out with superstars for a living.
We
What?
have such a I am consistently amazed by the quality of human beings in my life. If there's, I've said this many times recently, the one thing that I am proudest of in my entire life is the quality of humans that I have been like allowed to spend my time with,
Right.
whether it's from
I'm
my
not
husband.
still crying, but I just have this one tear that's like sitting there. It's like a reserve.
I love it. It's that single beautiful tear that's going to come down dramatically in the perfect
But
moment.
we are both, I call it, I say it all the time, I'm dripping with diamonds for friends.
Oh my gosh. See, you have the unique distinction among my entire group of friends. You speak like a poet, like 90% of the time. Like when I asked you that question and you said you were made of unicorn tears, and I was like, I just said, yeah, me. Like it's so lovely the way you use language
Mm.
to convey the beauty of life. And
Well,
I suspect that part of that came out of what you needed but didn't get when you were
mm,
young, Mela, because you are so gracious with that and you are so generous with that, and it's such a wonderful quality to have. And I think we are very similar in that we want other people to have the things that we maybe
mm,
didn't have but learned to give ourselves. We want to
yes,
be able to give that to as many people as possible, whether it's uh, the attention and the awareness that you matter and you would be missed if you were not on this planet, and you have You have unique gifts that if you were not here, the world would be missing out on. Everybody does. And
Mm.
and when we live in fear, or we are somehow made to feel small on the inside because someone says we have difficult hair, or someone says you're not Indian enough, or my personal favorite, that I'm not beautiful enough to play the wife of Calpen. I'm like, Calpen, I love you. I would very much like to play your wife someday, but sometimes casting decides that you're not pretty enough to do that. And
I can't even imagine. I
well,
can't
then, look,
imagine.
the things that casting directors have said in the past, I understand that they are just shopping. They are not doing anything wrong. Casting directors are doing their
Mhm.
job, and they are doing their best job they possibly can. They are behind the table shopping for the right product
For
for
the
their
client, it's what the clients requested. But,
exactly.
we both have, size, not issues, but size considerations.
Yeah.
And I remember it's like, again, for me, and I don't know if it's been this way for you, but because I've had a lot of alone time in the last year,
Mhm.
coming upon like March 18th, we locked down in LA, and it's been a pretty solid lockdown. But I've had time to really think about these things.
Oh, I think my ride's here. Do you hear it? My ride's here. Sorry, that was that was sirens. That was just bad. We're coming upon a year.
But
Yes.
just a lot of time to think about those things that we thought weren't enough or were too much. The considerations, like, this is what we have. Life is now, people. And, if there's something I can change, I'm just going to work on that. I could definitely have a more organized closet. I could delegate a few more things. But I'm never going to be flat chested. And it was funny, the things I came out as this year. I came out as a girl with boobs, just things that I used to like try to make people more comfortable. I'm a
Yeah.
36G, maybe an H. And it's funny, those things that you try to hide, but it's like putting a sheet on a couch. We all know what's there. You're not going to be 6 foot tall anytime soon, are you?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not, and I will continue to wear my 5 inch heels everywhere I go
Okay.
when
And
I can. But ain't nobody gonna be surprised by the fact that like this is how I'm built. But you're absolutely right. I spent so much when I have answered that question for myself. What would I give?
mhm.
A piece of advice I would give to
Mm,
yourself. I would say, please stop worrying about the things that you aren't and focus on celebrating the things that you are, because those
mm,
very things that make you unique are the things that are going to make your life amazing if you lean into those.
mhm.
So instead of me, young Anjali grew up in Orange County, California, where there was no proof that dark hair was a dominant gene. Like I thought that I was supposed to look like something else. And
Yeah.
I had no idea that regardless of whether I'm my type or not, there is a place in the world for people who look like me. And there are
Yes.
stories, and there is history, and there is love, and there is success, and there are all of the things available to you as just like every other human being. It doesn't matter what you look like. And if I had leaned into my weird a little bit more, I mean, I definitely leaned into some of my weird.
I
That's
think we do the best we can. I mean, also, I know people are watching, probably some of my miraculous fans. You could be anywhere from 7 to 70, and we all deal with this, but we do the best we can with the knowledge we have.
yes.
But also being in the media, I think that's why it's so important, because some people are like, why all this representation? It does matter.
So much.
We shouldn't need it. But as human beings, like, you go back to that tribal concept of looking like someone, so you belong to. And right now we're stretching out of tribes of Orange County and tribes of red and blue and countries and these invisible borders. But when you see yourself on screen or in a game, you're given some kind of magical permission to exist as a human being.
Mm.
And you have permission the moment you take your first breath. But unfortunately, it's not everyone's experience in their familial groups or maybe in school with bullying. It's a very real thing. We may have lovely things said about us, but 5 or 6 people in our peers at school telling us we shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a very real consequence to the acceptance of that truth. And in media and in the industry that we're in, it's so important for us not only to see representation, but to be it. Because I'm sure you've had this, some of the letters and the messages I get from fans, I'm weeping because they'll say, "Dear Mela, I thought I wasn't enough of, but when I see you happy with yourself or celebrating something about yourself, it makes me feel," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, wait, you mean if I love myself and celebrate myself and explore all the aspects of myself, I'm literally quantum physically giving someone else permission to let go of that chain that we used to have of feeling like we didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. And I love blonde hair and blue eyes, guys. It's okay. It's all gorgeous. But now we can talk about, I'm also, I mean, I like cats, but I'm a dog person, grew up with dogs. I love dogs. And I would never be like, "Ugh, it's a black dog," or, "Oh my gosh, it's got like black and red and yellow in it." Ugh. It's just exquisite. It's beautiful. And we're retraining our what is it, amygdala? We're retraining our brains and our cultures to maybe think in a more homogenous human thing. So we get to celebrate something that's different, because we're not going to die if everyone doesn't look the same. We're not thousands of years ago. We're now where you can have a family or a cast like an Apex where everyone's a little bit different, but we have to squad up together to win.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see how we can work together.
It's also, well, two parts, two things. One, the power of storytelling has always been obvious in the world. From ancient Greeks, from all the way back, we've seen the power of how important it is for people to hear stories that resonate with them so that they can experience the things that they need to experience without actually going through the pain or the journey or the whatever it is. But somewhere along the line, it did feel like, or it does feel like historically, because I wasn't there, somewhere along the line it became, well, if you don't look like the person telling the story, then it doesn't pertain to you, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so now this is another reason why representation matters, because all of these stories, and inclusivity, understanding that the second you see a character that you identify with, that you admire anything about, but you identify with in some way, and it doesn't have to be, it can be your sexual orientation, it can be your gender, it can be your size, it can be the color of your skin, it can be the background, it can be a personal challenge they're going through, it can be Symmetra is on the spectrum, it can be that, it can be, it can be Horizon having ADD or ADHD, it can be any of these things. Once you have that identifier that says, "Oh, I'm like them," you see the hero in yourself. You see the protagonist in yourself, and you become the hero of your own story. And you can take that agency, you can take that out into the world with that newfound excitement about, "Oh, I am in control of this narrative. I do have power to tell my own story." One of the reasons why I love games so much, because even though I do a lot of screen work and a lot of stage work, games put the player in that position of having agency over the story. They are in the story. They're telling the story with you. And that gives us all a sense of great empowerment, and involvement and inclusivity. And today is the first day of BlizzCon, and I remember Jeff Kaplan once saying about Overwatch, "The only people we want to exclude from playing Overwatch are people who exclude other people." And that sentiment of, we're all telling stories, we are all doing this, and it doesn't have to be like Noah's Ark. It doesn't have to be one of everything, and you don't have a hero until the hero looks like you. There is something to identify with every game. There is something to identify it in every story. And allowing people the freedom to say, this story, even if this story is about a group of people that have nothing to do with my ethnic background or my gender or whatever, there is something in this story that is valuable to me. Like that, that is so powerful and so important. For everyone.
I think we're transitioning into that for sure. Because I appreciate representation, but I don't want a resegregation. Here's representation, here's your own story. And I think the power, and it started, I know this is like years ago, but Hamilton, and Bridgerton and all of these stories where the inclusivity becomes, there's like it's just now about story and people and love and nemesis, and who doesn't get that? Who isn't, we all get that, and it brings us all in together.
Interestingly enough, it used to be called, and some people I think still call it this, but I hope not. It used to be called colorblind casting. And everyone always thought, oh, this is such a great thing. It's colorblind casting. I don't want you to be blind to my color. It's a part of who I am.
Right.
Like, it's just part of the unique package. But if you are aware of someone's essence, which includes their color, which includes their size, which includes their personality, which includes their everything, just their general energy, and then you put them in the story, it's not color blind. It's just not color exclusive. I don't know what the term would be. It's just not determining a person's essence based on that. And that I really love. Like you said, Hamilton, Bridgerton. There's I don't know if you've seen The Great, which is a comedy about Catherine the Great.
I've heard about it
on Hulu. It is hilarious. It is so good. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, and I didn't even clock it until like well into probably the second episode that I was like, wait a minute, this is a period piece, and there are people who look like me. We don't normally get that.
Right.
There's a period piece, and Sacha Dhawan is in there, and he's Indian. There's a period piece, and there's these beautiful Black women in the middle of the court in Russia, in this like ye olde timey. And so the fact that it's now not becoming jarring to people are accepting it. That's exciting.
It's so exciting. It's been a heartbreaking year in a lot of ways, but my big takeaway from this year is I've never felt more connected.
I'm so happy to hear that, especially because I know a lot of people in the world are struggling with the opposite because they're not seeing people as much in person. And I'm with you. It's in some ways, I do feel more connected than ever to myself. And I think that came partly from, and I hope this doesn't sound awful, but there's a certain amount of attrition. There's a certain amount of like the weaning off of relationships that happened during this last year, or just the weaning off of spending that much time on them, that happened because it required a tremendous amount of effort to be able to continue connecting with so many people. And it was so second nature to just like go out to a restaurant or go out to a party or whatever and socialize with 20, 30, 40, however many people. But now you realize, okay, if I have a limited amount of energy in my life, where am I going to be spending that today? And I'm going to have to recognize that I need to take some of that energy.
And I never did.
Neither did I.
And on the 2nd of January of this year, after doing like an amazing hike in the Malibu Mountains, doing all these great things, I walked maybe 4 buildings over from my house and fell on if anyone lives in LA, you know what I'm talking about, earthquake pavement. It's either uneven or there's a hole where there shouldn't be. We don't have the best sidewalk sometimes. And I just twisted my ankle, dislocated it, broke it, and tore a tendon. And tried to keep it in as I was hopping home. My friend was helping to carry me. But by the time I got to maybe the elevator, I was almost crying. And I kept trying to keep it in. And it was really interesting because she's like, we need to talk about how you talk to yourself when you're injured. I'm so stupid. Why wasn't I looking? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I kept apologizing. And because, I'm not used to being a problem or a bother. And it was really like, wow. She's like, a very dear friend of mine. She says, we really need to talk about how you talk to yourself when you're injured. You're so loving to everybody else. And it was a deep thought. I had to drag myself up the stairs in my house. And it was a couple days before we got crutches. So I had to just sit there and have someone bring things to me and take care of me.
And how many times did you apologize during those few months?
It was really hard. And then, I finally got to see the doctor and, a specialist. And he said, look, you can't right now because of COVID. It's probably not safe for you to go to physical therapy every day. He goes, I need you to do physical therapy. And I said, every day. And he goes, 5 times a day. I need you to do this and ice 5 times a day, or we're going to have to do surgery. I'm sorry, focus on my own self-care 5 times a day, every day. It's now been 6 weeks, and it really brought out a lot. I don't know of any time in my life where I've considered myself that often in a day. And I know everyone watching this, like, really think about it. It's not just a female thing. How many times, especially if you're loving or you're naturally effervescent or gregarious or caring, like a healer, I'm that personality, support. 6 weeks of literally every day, almost every hour, thinking, do you need to stretch? Do you need ice? You need to sit down, scheduling my sessions because I was blessed with work. And knowing 8 hours is not possible for me right now. Or if it is, I need to be able to take breaks every hour, and there'll be full breaks, and I'm going to ice and stretch. And it was profound for me to realize that I had always considered, I want this person to feel supported. I want to go to their club. I want to make sure they have dinner. Do you need to talk to someone? And all of that is valuable in a friendship or a love dynamic. But I never included myself in that equation. Or if I did, it was like a very small fraction. And, I think of all the years that I've had New Year's resolutions, well, I'm going to do this year. And it's like a big, long list of to-dos. And it was almost like the universe said, I've got something I really want you to work on that you haven't.
The universe does that, doesn't it? It just
self-care. And there's mirrors in my bedroom all across from the bed. So I had to wake up every day and for days just sit and look at myself and listen to the things I would say. This isn't a very flattering angle. Oh my gosh, what 7-year-old would think that? But as a woman, I was like, I don't look good sitting down. I mean, just all of these things, and they have gone away because I really had to address my language to myself.
Sure. And mirror work, it's so interesting because a lot of healers talk about mirror work. And many people have suggested to me that I need to do some of that myself to address my self-talk, because I, like you, I think we say some of the most horrible things that we would say to any human being to us. It is just a thing that we do. And I shouldn't say it's a thing that we do. It's a thing some of us do. And it's not, I don't think it's a natural thing, but every time the thing that I have noticed the most with her work is that when I look in the mirror, I don't see, I don't know how to put this. I don't see a person. I see the different parts of me and my judgment of them. And recognizing that and having to occasionally look in the mirror and be like, how do I make that look like like it's genuinely something I have been working on to rewire my brain, because
I relate to that. You've fragmented yourself into a list of pros and cons.
Yes. And on any given day, the worst part about it, and talk about admissions, like not embarrassing admissions, but vulnerable admissions, is the worst part about it is on any given day, it will make or break my day how I feel about any one part. If I'm not careful about it, if I don't really jump in there with a voice that I have chosen saying that is not the whole of you, that is not the entirety of you as a human being. The same as this one aspect of your life is not your entire life right now. It's so easy when we have something going wrong, quote unquote, in our lives, or something not up to snuff, whether it's challenging, I'm not in the perfect relationship, or I don't have work, or whatever. It's so easy to focus on that part of the pie and not look at the entirety of it. And lately I've been struggling with one aspect of the pie, and I've been like, how interesting that you have decided that is the whole pie.
Right. And, dysmorphia is a very real thing. Like I've struggled with it. I was definitely anorexic when I was younger. And it's funny because I thought I looked exactly like I look now. So I'm still dealing with I have to consciously deal with the dysmorphia, but it's not something that is exclusive to women.
No.
I've had men, dear friends that are talented, funny, smart, just, I mean, absolute catches. But they've decided, since their hair is thinning or they've gained 20 pounds, that they are no longer viable as a man.
Mhm.
And so I just want to speak to anyone's watching, dysmorphia is not that women get all this attention. We've had some much needed attention in the last few years. But again, instead of making it a people group, it is a human condition.
Yeah.
That many human beings, before COVID, after COVID, during COVID, have defined themselves as lovable, acceptable, deserving of a career, deserving of happiness, based upon this imaginary list of pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
And deciding that the three things on the con list outweigh the 5,000 things, because we focus on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it breaks my heart. I mean, and I won't name names, of course, but people that are on television that you think are absolute heartthrobs, and we're in the middle of a conversation and a man calls himself a fatty, and you're like, whoa, let's rack that up. So it's definitely important, because I know we're going to be gone in about 10 minutes, because Miss Famous Girl, who's like in television shows and films right now, Anjali, I love this. Like, you can be at that level and still be taking yourself apart on this dissection.
But again, this is what the whole show is about.
The gorgeous men who are like, I only have a 6-pack, but I want an 8-pack, or I really let myself go. I slept this weekend instead of getting up at 4 o'clock every morning. And those mistakes, thinking that they literally define the worth of the day of them receiving love, receiving a job, experiencing happiness. And I shout out to all my boys, my girls, everyone in between. Again, you are exquisitely, beautifully made in every part of the journey. And I'm saying that to you and saying it to myself. It's something that's been profound, because I realized what you were saying. I've let my whole day sometimes go because that one thing wasn't perfect.
Right. And maybe the whole day doesn't go, but you feel just slightly off. Right. And those judgments. And it's interesting. I've done 2 episodes of I Am Fun Size where I talk about this. One is judgment versus evaluation, and one is the candy coated shell, which was the second episode. About how ultimately this package that we're in is really just the candy coated shell, and no one eats M&Ms for the candy coated shell. It's fun, it's pretty, it's fun to play with.
That's great,
inside, right? So yes. Focus on the gooey inside. Because our insides are gooey, chocolatey, peanut buttery deliciousness.
You never know what's inside.
You don't. Well, I mean, it could be anything. But it is still an ongoing challenge for me not to judge. And I will, my beautiful, brilliant, far too smart for its own good brain will tell me, oh, no. I'm just assessing because I am trying to make myself better in the world. I'm just a go-getter. I'm just driven. I'm just trying to be better because that's my, that's my Virgo. I'll come up with all sorts of reasons. I'll come up with excuses for treating myself like crap.
Somebody said something really powerful to me. If you wouldn't say it to a 7-year-old or a 4-year-old. And, there's times when I'm not as hungry, or I'm hungry. And this was a while ago with my eating disorder that I don't have anymore, thank goodness. Or I don't struggle with any longer. But you would never say to a 4-year-old, listen, you're 5 pounds overweight. You ate yesterday. I'm hungry. Oh, you ate yesterday. Yeah. You had a piece of cake yesterday, so you don't get to eat today or tomorrow. You would never. But think about in entertainment, we'd be like, well, I'm just not going to eat for a few days. I've got to get down to some good weight. And you're like, okay,
yeah, no.
Let's rethink this.
Yeah.
Let's rethink this abusive behavior.
I have to give a shout out to my trainer, Eddie Baruta at Ultimate Performance.
I will too, by the way, just because I've hiked with her and Eddie.
Well, let me explain the shout out. It's not just because he's an incredible trainer and he's able to help people shape their bodies in a way that's incredible. It is the mindset. Because when I was a teenager, and I've talked about this in a previous episode, when I was a teenager, I was anorexic and then I was bulimic. I tried them all. I tried everything on for size. And then finally found a way to live in the world without experiencing an eating disorder, which I'm very grateful for. But one of the things that Eddie's like, look, that this is not how life is meant to be lived. So if you overdid it, or if you enjoyed yourself, you enjoyed yourself. If you're gonna have a celebration meal, and he won't call them cheat meals, he'll call them celebration meals. If you're gonna have a celebration meal, the one rule is that you're not allowed to feel bad about it. That is the one rule. Everything else is whatever. Enjoy it so that you then can move on and be driven and have all this. Beating yourself up does nothing for us. Doesn't make your workouts any better. You don't have to apologize for it. Just do the next thing. And just the mindset coming out of someone who does this for a living, and he's this big, beautiful Romanian man with this, and his wife is stunning. And the both of them are these, they're like supermodels of fitness. And they're just so, like, the idea that that's not how life is meant to be lived, even if you are committed to fitness. Because more than fitness, why are you committed to fitness? You're committed to fitness because you want your life to be better. You want your whole life to be better. That's the only reason to do it. So that, like, reminding myself and hearing it from someone else in a position of more knowledge, and someone that you admire, is just such a reminder. Sometimes you do. You don't need to hear it from outside, but it certainly helps.
It does.
Because then you can start to train your brain. Oh yeah, they're right. Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I'm there. I get that. And it's been a struggle lately too, because I did kind of go off the deep end. I decided to start celebrating on inauguration day, because inauguration day I decided to start celebrating by eating the entire city of Atlanta, and I didn't stop for like maybe 10 days.
Is that why you look so beautiful?
God bless you. So but then I spent 2 weeks beating the crap out of myself. I'm like, what?
Oh, honey.
Why? That's no help. That's not helpful to anybody. And it's that self-talk. It is that if there's one thing that probably I feel like could change all of our lives, it's getting those voices in our heads to be as supportive as our dear friends are.
And I know that you have a car service or somebody picking you up soon because you're a big star.
Stop. I know you.
I know we'll
fancy pants meeting.
You do.
We're doing a shortened version. Today is a shorter I Am Fun size, but that's because we're going to invite Mela back like 19 times so that
I will gladly come back. But if you're listening right now live, if you've just, it's like a year from now and you're like, COVID, that was so long ago, whatever it is, the one takeaway I would hope that you would have is that, and you know what? My friend Dave has a show called Mortified. And at the end of each of the shows of Mortified, please look it up. It's amazing. People read their diaries from junior high.
Oh my God.
And oh my gosh, it's like the things they were struggling with. But he says the one thing we've learned, we were freaks, we were fragile, but we all survived. And, everyone thinks they're something different, and please connect with friends on the internet, on Instagram. I mean, make sure that you understand that you're not alone. You are extraordinary and unique, but you're not so different from so many people that are looking to connect with you and find you and be your friend and create with you and heal with you. Knowing Anjali, I mean, we don't look alike, but we're so much alike. And the friendship was instant. And I'm in a place in my life where 7-year-old me is just leaping inside all the time. It's like I'm at school and I've met the best friends ever. And if anyone is going through the death of dreams, struggling with the aftermath of financial disaster, physical, emotional, or verbal abuse, any kind of abuse, whether it's from self or others, I just want to tell you to take it one breath at a time if you have to, because I'm talking to you from the other side of that place. And it does get better.
Amen. Amen. You beautiful, beautiful thing. we're going to end it there because you just left us with a beautiful sign off message. To all of you beauties out there, this is I Am Fun Size and You Are Too, which is the follow up to the title I Am Fun Size, You Are Too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mela, as always, you
Oh,
are
I
a
adore you.
light and a joy and a pleasure, and you make my heart sing. And I'm so grateful that you are in the world, and I'm so grateful you're in my world. And thanks for being our inaugural guest when we
Oh
did this
my gosh, I'll take
YouTube
it. I feel
on
so
the
special.
YouTube. Yay! All right, you guys, this is going to be the awkward part of the broadcast because I don't know how we do the sign off on YouTube. I don't know how this works. You guys, Donnie, my producer, is going to speak in from on high and tell me what
I
we're
love
doing.
it.
Donnie, the voice of Donnie. Donnie, tell me what to do. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, well, you guys,
Bye.
we just said goodbye to peeps. We're ready to go. Thank you so much. And Donnie's going to shut us down now.